So one of the big things we got to talk about is Social Security, because it is going to be on the ballot. So we'll tie it back to the election. Right now, there's kind of an issue where Social Security, the way it's funded now, initially, it was funded. It was money comes in, right? You pay your FICA tax, your Social Security payroll tax. That goes into Social Security, and then it goes out to pay a lot of the people. So a lot of it just gets used right away. And it pays out like over 1.6 trillion, I think it did last year, in benefits. And it's just old age insurance is all it is. It's just so you don't starve when you're older. It's not like it's a retirement plan. It's just enough to sort of survive. But that gets paid out. But what happened to us is we set up in the 80s they set up a trust fund, and that got misused pretty heavily by Reagan and then Bush and Clinton and Bush Jr. But the trust fund is going to run out. And when it does, it's not going to be able to pay the full benefits anymore out of Social Security. It's just going to be able to pay what goes in. And so it'll only be paying whatever 80 something percent of what it is now. Right, it's like a little over 3/4. So we either have to do something right now to increase the trust fund or increase the amount of revenue coming into Social Security, or people are going to end up taking a cut in about 10 years, which is going to be really devastating. So the big question is what's the plan? What is everybody going to do about it? And so you have the two presidential candidates, Biden and Trump, right? What are their plans going forward? But I want to look at this real quick. This is just a quick little clip on kind of what's going on with that.
To a new report by the Entitlement Program's trustees that shows if Congress doesn't act fast to address those pending shortfalls, there may be fewer options to fix things. The report shows that by 2035, payroll tax revenue and other income sources may only be able to cover about 83% of the benefits owed once trust funds have been exhausted. Meanwhile, Medicare funds are only expected to be able to cover scheduled inpatient hospital benefits until 2036.
So that's really, really devastating. We got to figure out.
Time to debut our
Pause. There you go. Yeah, so that's devastating. Think about that. 10 years, people will be retiring, or people that are already retired will be in their 60s, 70s, right, 80s, and their Medicare won't be fully covered. And their Social Security will be reduced for people that are barely scraping by. Millions and millions of people that are barely scraping by. So something needs to be done about this. Now, the Republicans have tried to privatize this, have tried to get rid of it since we've been alive, since before we were alive. They think it's socialist, and it is. It says Social Security. It's in the title. It is a social program. It's also one of the most popular, if not the most popular, social program. So it's huge. So the big question is what is everybody going to do about it? So I just want to do a quick comparison of what the two different plans are, and I'll kind of explain what they are. So this first one, let me do this, is Joe Biden. So Joe Biden, that's just Yahoo Finance, wants to make big changes to Social Security. Will Americans support what he wants to do? So President Biden discussed some of his plans for the country in his recent State of the Union address, blah, blah, blah. This was March 17th, this article came out. So last week, Biden released his proposal budget for fiscal year 2025. It's a $7.3 trillion budget, yada, yada, yada. So here's what it is. So more money for Social Security in fiscal 25. Biden wants to increase the discretionary budget for the Social Security Administration by $1.3 billion from the 2023 level. That would bring the total budget of the agency to $15.4 billion. Note, however, this amount doesn't include any benefits payments. Social Security dished out more than $1.3 trillion in benefits last year. Most of the funding for the benefits comes from payroll taxes. So, like I said, money comes in when you pay your tax, and then it goes out to the beneficiaries, right? So they basically the young pay for the old. But there's also a trust fund that acted as a surplus, but money's not going into the trust fund; it's just going out at this point, and the trust fund will run out at some point. And that's the concern. So it does help. I mean, he's not adding money to the trust fund, but by adding money to $1.3 billion to the discretionary fund, it means they can get more people, they can be more efficient, they can help process claims, look for discrepancies or issues, overpayments, things like that, and get that corrected, and make Social Security more robust. So that's a start. But where he really gets into is how are we going to pay for it going forward? So the president's budget proposal relates only to SSA's administrative functions, yada. So his bigger plans for Social Security. Biden has bigger plans for Social Security than just administrative improvements, though. His proposed budget also addresses his desire to work with Congress to strengthen the federal program. The president listed several guiding principles for any Social Security reforms. Most importantly, Biden remains adamant that no benefit cuts be made to Social Security. He's mentioned in his previous public statements that he views an increase to the full retirement age as a benefit cut. So that's important. Because Republicans have done this before, where they're like, oh, it's not a benefit cut. We're just going to say you can't collect it until you're older. Well, yeah, that means I'm not getting those benefits for years. So it's a benefit cut. Right? So, like, for example, people that were born, I forget what year it was, 59 or 60 or whatever it was. So, like, people in their 60s now, or people in, I'm sorry, they're like 67 or 68 now, they got full retirement benefits at 65. Now I think it's 66, and then in a few years it's going to be 66 and a half, and then shortly after that it's going to be 67. So that's 2 years where you can't get full retirement benefits.
Sounds like a cut to me.
It is a cut. But Biden doesn't want to push the age back any further. So that's a big deal right there. Because Republicans do. They want to push it back to 70. They'd probably push it back to 90 if they could. So there's that. Another cornerstone of Biden's plan is to extend Social Security solvency by asking the highest income Americans to pay their fair share. This is the important part. Although the budget didn't provide details on what that would mean, Biden has in the past proposed making all income above $400,000 subject to the payroll tax that helps fund Social Security. That's a big deal because currently, if you make over $400,000, every dollar you make over penny, you make over $400,000, you don't have to pay FICA tax on. You don't have to pay Social Security tax on that. You only pay on the first $400,000. So the ultra wealthy are not paying their fair share of Social Security tax. So Taylor Swift makes $100 million, right? 99.6 million of that she doesn't have to pay Social Security tax on. If she did, that would fund the program. If her and everybody else, the top 1% of earners, were doing that, it would fund the program.
And the truth is, like, come on, think about it, guys. Would they even really notice? I mean, when you're dealing with numbers that large in terms of your income, are you really going to notice?
They'll notice. It's a significant amount of money, but the bottom line is that's how society works. If you're rich, yeah, you get the benefits of having a society that props you up and makes you rich. You need to put back into that society if you want to sustain that system. You can't just keep it all for yourself and not contribute and expect everybody to do it for you. That's kind of the argument here. You can argue whatever way you want, but that's Biden's proposal. At least there's a solution there, right? We're going to start taxing the rich to make sure that the poor don't die in poverty on the street from old age. And when people do that, oh, well, they can just work longer, or people want... First off, medically, not everybody can. Physically, not everybody can. And furthermore, this is the problem that happened when we established Social Security. It wasn't that these people in their 50s and 60s at the time, right, in the 70s, couldn't work or didn't want to work. It's why would I hire them when I can hire somebody who's 20, who can work harder and is more productive and is more up to date with their education. And I can hire that person for less. They can't compete in the job market when you get to a certain age. That's just the problem. So that's Biden's thing. So Biden's got sort of a loose plan, at least, that they've been pushing. And honestly, Elizabeth Warren's pushed this and Bernie Sanders have pushed this in the past. But that's what it is. We're just going to have to, everybody's going to have to start paying tax for payroll tax for Social Security. Even if you make millions, you're going to have to pay the tax. Just like the rest of us pay 100% of our income into it. You got to start doing that too. Okay, so there's Biden's whole spiel, right? So there's one. So let's look at Trump. So here's the counter. The counter. What's Trump's plan on Social Security and taking care of that? Because he said he doesn't want to cut benefits either. But here's NBC. Donald Trump has been all over the map on Social Security and Medicare. So we're going to go through it. When former President Trump said last week on CNBC, there's a lot you can do in terms of entitlements, in terms of cutting, it sparked an immediate outcry from President Biden and began a battle over retirement programs that is likely to persist through the 2024 election. No shit. Trump sought to clean up, saying in an interview with the conservative website Breitbart, here we go, I will never do anything that will jeopardize or hurt Social Security or Medicare. Biden campaign spokesman James Singer accused Trump of trying to trick voters, saying Trump tried cutting Social Security and Medicare by billions of dollars every single year he was in office. He did. They tried to cut it every year he was in office. So now all of a sudden, oh, no, we're not going to cut it. No. Because he knows it's a losing strategy. He can't say that going into the election, but he said that last time he wasn't going to cut it. He said last time we were going to get some sort of universal health care that was going to be better. We never got it. They never put forward a plan. They were going to get rid of Obamacare and give us something better. We never did. He kept saying it's going to be, next week is going to be infrastructure week. Next week's, never did anything on the infrastructure. Biden did. I mean, it's just a comparison, so you can't necessarily trust him on this. At the heart of the debate is the ticking clock. Actuaries say Medicare is solvent until 2028, while Social Security is solvent until 2033. After that, benefits will forcibly cut unless revenues are added. Biden's new budget calls for tax hikes on upper earners to maintain the benefits. Trump hasn't said how he would address the shortfall, leaving it an open question. His campaign didn't elaborate when it was asked multiple times to comment. So, Social Security is important to you, and it should be. Because a lot of you, I'm sure all of you have parents on it, or people you know somebody with a disability who's on it. Maybe do, maybe don't, but the vast majority of us do know at least one person. You know, I have two parents on Social Security. I have lots of clients on Social Security. It's important. It is a cornerstone of their retirement and their ability to not go homeless and at least have some sort of dignity in retirement. It's a big deal. So you got you got Biden saying, yeah, we're going to tax the rich because we haven't done that, and frankly, they need to start paying into it. And then you have Trump saying, well, I'm not going to cut it, but I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to comment. Even though I've tried to cut it in the past. So those are your two choices.
So it sounds like either he's going to cut it or he's going to sit on his butt and do nothing.
He's going to let Congress, he's going to hope he's just going to let Congress do whatever, and he'll probably just sign it. Same as if he had an abortion ban. So that's the deal with that. So Social Security, I think that's a big issue, and I think you guys should be wary of that, because you really do not want to end up being in your 60s and not having any income. Right? Or any way to survive. And living off your savings is not a great way to do it. But